Here's for you, Ramel. Here's for humble me. What?
At Bikar, the last month or two, we would start Kabbalat Shabbat Friday nights with a certain consciousness that we wanted to make some sort of offering for the Rebbe, so that we would sing something that for us was a sort of an offering to the Rebbe. So I'd like to ask Rabbi שלמה to start with a nigun, which is his personal offering to the Rebbe.
What are we going to sing? I don't know, I was singing the whole time this Kulen and Ning, Chal Deshem, to the sound, which is such a good Ning. Meichal de Hashem ki lo yisam ki lo ycholo rachamo Meichal de Hashem ki lo yisam ki lo ycholo rachamo You're the master of the world.
שלמה. There's learning, there's teaching, there's singing. Where is your Shorish Neshama? Which one of the three? Here you are. It's correct to say that you are, excuse the phrase, father of modern Hasidic music. I don't mean you're responsible for all the jazz that's produced, but I mean it was you who more than 40 years ago started it. But you also function as a rebbe, as somebody who wants to convey a sort of hashkafa, an approach to the world, which comes out in your teaching, which is totally part of your being. So where's your Shorish Neshama? Where's your soul? In your learning, in your teaching, or in your singing?
Well, and maybe you didn't warn me enough, mother. But now it's too late to pick out. I could say I'm double part, you know.
I'll take it too.
Remember I told you that the Heilige, the Chaim Briske and Rav Zalman Sender were learning together. So when they were 7, 8 years old, Chaim Briske's father, the Beis Halevi, came in and he says to them, which one of you learns better? So Chaim Briske says to his father, should I brag or should I lie? So Rav Zalman Sender, the other one who was his cousin, says, you are bragging and lying. You know, whenever a person asks you something about yourself, you have to brag and lie, otherwise you can't answer, right? So I'll tell you something, if you ask me, without really bragging too much. My Shorish Neshama is in depth. I cannot stand cello playing. I can't stand cello people. I forgive them and I love them, but I can't stand them. I can't stand cello ideas. I cannot stand anything cello really, like, makes me sick. And especially I had the privilege of learning by really Ramel, like Vivis Middles too, in learning with the deepest and the sharpest. Shlomo Harman was awesome deep, and Rabban was awesome deep but sharp deep, and you know, again, without bragging, you know, my songs are real deep. It's real deep music. You know what deep is? That's the second part. It's not one more note, another note, another note. It's getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And you know, when God bless me with the niggin and I look for words, I don't just take words which you can get by with. It's like really the depth. The niggin brings out the depth of the words. So what I'm looking for the deepest learning, the deepest singing, and what I hope maybe to have the privilege of making the word just a little bit deeper, to make Yiddishkeit more deep. And also for me, deep and sweet goes together, because if it's bitter, it's definitely not deep. Because bitter is when you put something bitter in your mouth, you want to throw it out. And sweet is the other way, you want to take it in. Craving sweetness. Anyway.
But let me push you a level. Let me, maybe it sounds like it's sort of childish, but you have to choose. Let's put it another way. Where is your sense of being drawn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Is it in learning, is it in teaching, or is it in music?
I tell you something, if the Rebbe would tell me, okay, you can sing all your life, but don't ever open the Gemara. Or God would say, but you cannot sing. I would say, Rebbe, you have to choose for me. I mean, if he talks to me, he might as well do the whole thing, you know? Ja, mehr als gesagt, you know?
When you sing a nigun that you imagine that is yours, how did it come to you? Was there any sort of context to it? Can you sort of try to describe some sort of creative process? How does a nigun come to you?
You know, you see, first of all, a nigun always comes by Heavenly Federal Express. Comes. And could come any day, during the day or during the night. You know, sometimes at night I dream of such unbelievable nigunim, and certainly enough when I wake up it's forgotten. But again, without breaking too much. You know, new nigunim walk around my head day and night. Let's say Friday night when I begin to daven, and like about 10 nigunim and major mamash hitting me already. Well, what can I do? There's no table recorder on Shabbos. So, but you see, Romero, it's mamash clear to me. I know deep the nigunim don't come because I deserve it or anything. It's just like maybe I heard them last year ago, you know. I tell you something. I have this nigun. You know, I don't know how much everybody pays attention to those so-called spiritually more developed people who have visions, and maybe they're a little bit higher, they hear things we don't do. I have this nigun, Yehi Sholem B'Chelech, you know. I'll sing it to you in a second. And there was a woman there who's really like a very highly spiritual person. I would say her soul is very developed. So she says to me that night she dreamt, and she, mamish, saw herself standing by the Beis HaMikdash, and the Levi was singing this nigun, and all of Israel was singing with it. So maybe it really is true, you know.
So let's sing it. There's something very unsatisfying with being told that it just comes to you, because one tries to understand or to put it into a context or to rather than a sort of yesh me'ayin or sort of vacuum, it comes. So my impression is that the Karbach family are a musical family. But actually they're musical in the way you were making fun of this morning, in the Mozart and Beethoven.
I think I'm not making fun of Mozart and Beethoven, but I'm a big chassid of Mozart. But I'm only making fun of the Yid who only loves Mozart and doesn't like anything Jewish.
But the type of music, if I would try to imagine, I'm really maybe putting my head on a line now, if I would try to imagine the sort of music you grew up with, it would either be classical music, not Goyish, non-Jewish classical music, or it would be some very heavy, stereotyped German Jewish music.
Sure.
Like if I thought, what sort of Karibon your father sang, yes, excuse me,
sure.
oh, Yonze would be Yamzel Yisrael, that's my image.
You sing it already Polish, my father sang it like a yakif.
My attempt. So you, now, it seems to me that you've gone east, you've gone into Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
There are a lot of, this is a theme with Gilles Langa or Dr. Marcus beforehand, of Western Jews who have gone east.
It's true, yeah. It's a privilege from heaven, yeah.
How?
But you see what it is?
How? And why?
I think it's like a man.
Why that type of music?
I tell you what, obviously, if you ask me really about the roots of my neshama, obviously the roots of my neshama are this kind of music. And again, what do I know what I did last lifetime? Or what do I know what I did the lifetime before?
But did you hear that sort of music from anybody?
No, you see, besides, at home was always German music.
And in Lakewood it wouldn't be that either.
But then I went to Mesivta Tovadas, and there was already Chassidische music. And also in Vienna, you know, my father were two synagogues. They were in the same courtyard. My father was a rabbi of the Oberländer, you know, Hungarian Oberländer in German. And then there was Shinova Kleis, Shinova Besmadrish. And there my brother and I first time got a taste of Chassidische Nigunim.
You left your father's shul.
I didn't really leave it, but just didn't go there, you know. And my father would always say if he wouldn't have to go to his shul, he would daven also in the Besmadrish when he could. Yeah.
I like to be a little naughty, and not chas v'shalom to hurt you.
No, got to, Mr. Mail, you're the sweetest.
But I'd like you to sing for us the Nigun of the Ramah. Because I want to suggest to you a little analysis of your Nigun.
Yeah?
Yes.
The mail is like going under, you know, this is a bad scene for me, but anyway. See, if you permit me, you see, maybe you're right, it was not such a satisfactory answer. The truth is that the real good nigunim coming to me a lot of times when I'm mamish heartbroken. That means sometimes I realize if I wouldn't have been so completely broken, I would have no vessels for this melody. You know, and a lot of times when something happens to me, I think, oh Gewalt, I gotta have the tape recorder with me without breaking again. You know something? I have to share it with you. I went to Poland. Some of us went to Poland. Was actually the first time that there was like a Jewish concert tour in Poland. And you know, a lot of Yidden, a lot of people go to Poland, just go to Auschwitz, to Majdanek, and have nothing to do with the living people in Poland. but I'm not a cemetery person. So it was along so we were really invited by the government, and we played for thousands Polish people, and there was so much love between us, not to be believed, not to be believed. I mean, non-Jewish kids. I mean, the old people didn't show up. It was, I would say, between 15 and 40. And what I want to tell you is that I personally, I think the best nigunim ever made up must have been in Majdanek. You know, there's one room with 800,000 shoes. And the craziest thing is, I had the tape recorder with me, a micro tape recorder. Mimi remembers. And, you know, I'm a little bit a maven on my own music. It's the best. And the craziest thing happened. The next day I gave a concert and I put this tape recorder on the piano. It was stolen. Obviously it was not for me to remember it. But in the Ramos Shul, the morning after Majdanek, we davened in the Ramos Shul. You know, the only shul left in Poland, in Krakow. And for me it's so special because my great-great-great-great-grandfather was the Bach, Rabbi Yoel Sirkish, who the first commentary on Shkonoch, and he davened in the Ramos Shul because he eventually took over the Ramo. Ramo was the chief rabbi of Krakow, and about 60, 70 years later, the Bach was the chief rabbi. And again, if Mimi remembers, was awesome, no? It was mamish like Kol Nidre, it was like Yom Kippur. Not only we, so to speak, about 30, 40 people, Jewish people who came with me, cried. Even the television people who televised everything, non-Jewish people were crying like fellas. It was a very high moment, so I made up this niggin.
You see, that's it's so much more real to me when you say that there are moments where you feel broken-hearted, and in that context, some sort of creativity, the nigun takes place, because let me say this, and I said with love, and you can tell me it's absolute rubbish. I think when if people just listen to the nigun you're about to sing, I would suggest that you're not allowing yourself to dwell too long on the broken-heartedness aspect. As soon as it gets just a little too much, you will deliberately change the mood in quite a dramatic way. And my theory is, consciously or unconsciously, you're not letting the dveikus parts get too dominant. Let's listen to your nigun, and then let's present it to the tzibur.
Well, yeah, I'm going to go. Why didn't you come with me to Krakow? Well,
I die.
Sing it one more time.
No, that's not fair. You never do that. You never do that.
No?
Well, no, what happens now?
I first.
Which becomes the mantra. It is never the slow, devekistic aspect of your nigunim, which are repeated over and over. Now, I suggest two possibilities. One is that there's a danger if you like in the second movement of a symphony, that it can cloy, it can become thick. The other one is you're frightened.
Maybe on both, you know. You see what it is, Ramel? Basically, you know, when I'm, let's say, Shalish Shudus in New York with my chavra, then we sing this first part a long time, because they're on the level. Mostly when I am at the concert, they don't have vessels. They don't have vessels for this kind of a thing, right? So I sing the first part twice, and then I think something. The fact is, without bragging, you know, people steal my nigunim. Nobody yet has recorded the first part. By the way, the second part, there are vessels for, right? All the wedding bands sing the second part. I say, who gave you the right to omit the first part? You know, I don't want to say bad things. One of the top singers today, who at least he thinks he's the top singer. The moment my record came out with the Kakvanigen, he went right away and recorded the second part. I asked him, what happened to the first part? Oh, he says, I didn't even think it's part of the Nigen. That means he didn't get the message. Because the second part was on the first part, it's like half a sentence, not even half a sentence.
Yeah, if you're telling me now that this is a conscious decision on your part because of the kelim, because of the receptivity of the people, then I understand it very well indeed. And in my learning with Mimi, it seemed to me that maybe that was also a difference between the Balatanya and the previous Rebbe. That whereas the Balatanya was much more almost introvert, or with a selected few, the previous Rebbe seems to have made a conscious decision that in order to deal with this generation, there has to be a much more expansive, almost American approach.
Wholesale approach, yeah.
No, you think so? Or no?
100%. I think, you see, I had the privilege of being by the Friedrich Rebbe, right? But the Friedrich Rebbe, a good Shabbos was if you daven 7 hours, 10 hours. Remember when I got into Lubavitch? I mean, who would dare to begin davening before 2 in the afternoon, right? You run to the mikveh and then you learn your chassidus and you daven. You out. Today in Lubavitch, there is not this, I mean maybe 2 or 3 individuals which I don't even think exist anymore. Today Shabbos is the most important thing. You daven fast, then you go out on the street to grab somebody who didn't make Kiddush yet, and it's a completely different consciousness today. You're right.
So I think also, but correct me if I'm wrong, if somebody has been in music or in art in any form for over 40 years, then you can actually analyze the nigunim from various stages. Yeah? So I think, I should apologize to the tzibur about all this business of music, but it's
beautiful what you say.
It dominates me. I think I would like to introduce them to a Shlomo Karbach nigun of Nimkomecha of about 40 years ago.
At first
which is unlike the sort of nigunim which we sing now. You're going to start or should I start?
You start.
You have to start low because it gets very high.
is the best. Can I sing you something? It's also in major. It's a little bit chazonis, but it's not so long. But I need some good harmony. This was just a few years ago.
Into a Viennese waltz. A 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Listen, Mashiach is coming. You're on Strasse and ask me what. Why did you ignore my teachings?
Because I mean, if one's trying to be analytical about it, what you've done is you've put a limit on how internal you're prepared to be. Almost as if you're not prepared to show yourself too much, unless you're assured of who's there.
Yeah. Okay, Ramel, I'll give you a quittal after you, Mamash Marabba.
That's it. Okay, so Shlomo, listen, I don't want to slip too heavy.
No, it's not too heavy, it's good. 9 days is cleaning days, you know.
So I have something which I think is very important to ask you. I think one of your favorite, what you call Torahs, is Ishbitzer Torah, where you talk about the Torah of always and the Torah of the moment. And you don't leave it open like that. When you go on to say, on what is greater, and you're quite clear in your own mind what is greater, you think what is greater is the Torah of the moment. Presumably you would say the Torah of the moment is within the context of the Torah of always. And
talking to the microphone? Or turn off the stereo.
Now you tell me you can't hear all these things he's going till now. Everything until now.
Can someone turn?
When did you turn up?
You've been getting further from me all the time.
I'm supposed to get closer to you all the time. Anyway, so one of the favorite Torahs of Rav Shlomo is the Ishbitzer Torah. By the way, I don't think Rav Shlomo is really Ishbitzer Torah. I think if Mimi is a cross between Ishbitz and Kotsk, Shlomo is some cross between Ishbitz and the Chayzer or Ropshitz, I'm not quite sure which. But I don't think he's completely in Ishbitz. But that's a surprise. Anyway, so one of his favorite Torah, if you listen to Shlomo, is that there's a Torah of always and a Torah of the moment. This apparently is the Meshilach's explanation of Pinchas. And it's quite clear, if you listen to Shlomo, that he thinks the Torah of the moments is the greater. That's to say, now I'm adding, within the context of the Torah of always, there is some sort of takeoff whereby a human being, if he's on a level, knows how to behave even though it's not in the written books. Fair?
100%, yeah.
And what's clear also, I suggest to you all listening and Rab Shlomo, is Rab Shlomo himself clearly identifies with the Torah of the moment. Let's say he is identifying with Pinchas. I'm not talking about the particular action of Pinchas, but he's identified with the Torah of the moment. But there's a difference. Because Pinchas' act was a Torah of the moment for a moment. But what you're doing is the Torah of the moment for a generation. The Torah of a moment for the always. I think that's what you're doing. That's to say, you sense from within the world of Torah, this is how one should behave, in spite of what other people think. This is the moment, this is the way to deal with the reality I'm facing, but it's a continuum, it's not a moment. This, well, let me see how far I get with you on that one before I come back.
You see, I tell you, you say such deep things in there. You see, yeah, you go. You see what it is? What made me turn from the always to the moment took more than a moment. Because I was watching all those generations before me, and I saw their married life, I saw the way they act to their children, and I see that, as a whole generation, they're so eager for their children, for the always. But when it comes to the moment, I see the children are cripples. They don't know what to do. You know, all the rabbis, right? I'll tell you a story which cuts my heart, right? And I realized that when it comes to the moment, there's nobody to talk to. Someone told me he was in the house of, without mentioning names, a great rabbi, and a woman came and she says, "You have to help me. I have one daughter, and she's leaving tomorrow night for India. And I know I'll see her again. I'll never see her again. Please come over to my house. Please talk to her. Don't you have something to tell her? To make her go to Yerushalayim. Why is she going to India?" Right? But the rabbi was in the middle of eating, and it was mamish glad kosher, right? And everybody knows when you eat glad kosher, you're not permitted to be mafsik, right? Because glad kosher is mamish on the level of Shmona Esrei. So he kept on eating. What should I do? And in the meantime, his wife brings in the kneidlach. What can you do? He said, what can I do, you know? And the heat was boiling. He told me he was boiling. Then suddenly, there was a phone call for this great man. And again, I'm not talking about the real great rabbis, chas v'shalom. I'm talking about, like, you know, watching, right? I'm chas v'shalom, not talking about the real rabbis. You know, don't take me wrong. Imagine someone comes, Amshnam Rebbe says, my daughter's going to India. pack up and go and talk to her, right? I'm not talking about I'm not talking about this kind of tzaddik.
Somebody probably wouldn't come to the Amshnava Rebbe saying my daughter's going to India.
No, but she wouldn't know the address, right? But anyway, so then suddenly there's a phone call, and it says, and the rabbi is besides himself, excited. What happened? There's a bakery on 13th Avenue in Borough Park, and they just found out that the oil they're using is not under hashkocha. They're not sure if it's not mamish treif, but even if it isn't, it's not under hashkocha. The rabbi got wild. Stopped eating the lokshen kuchen, and he was wild. The woman picked up, she walked out, nobody paid attention to her. I said to myself, if I ever become a rabbi, do I want to be like that? You see, he knows always you have to eat kosher, right? That's 100%. Well, what do you do when one Jewish girl gets lost? What do you do then? I once asked the rabbi, you're learning for 5 years all the laws if one milchike spoon falls into a fleischike pot. What do you do with all the millions of Jews who are falling into a treife world? What do you do then? Why didn't the Rosh Yeshivas ever talk about that, right? Why do they? I see the way they were teaching yeshivas. When, let's say, a yeshiva bocher comes to the Rosh Yeshiva, he says, someone tells me a shidduch about this girl, right? What would be the first question? The first question is not, do you love her? First question is she from? Second question is, who's her father? And then 10 more questions. And loving, who talks about it? So what's going on there? So I realized that Yiddishkeit needs something, because I cannot imagine that God wants me to marry a girl just because she is from. I don't even buy a talus if I don't love the talus. If I wear a talus, I want to love the talus. So I realized, and I'll tell you something else. I've seen 80% of the yeshiva bochum leaving the yeshiva because there's nobody to talk to. Sure, they could talk about the Rebbe, about the kosher bakery. They could talk about everything in the world. Some yeshiva bochum told me he was so broken about something. He walked in, someone and says, Rebbe, I'm so broken. He says, just learn stronger, and then you'll forget about your broken heart. But it's not the answer. To realize that when a Yid talks to you, at that moment, maybe he needs from the Torah something which nobody ever said before. And maybe, he's not away from the Torah. Whatever happens to you in your life, they say for Torah Sodom. Everything is part of the Torah. Everything which happens to me is part of the Torah. But this Torah is not the Torah of a kosher bakery. It's maybe the deepest. In our generation, I don't know if there ever met so many young, broken people in the world like today. So I realized we need some kind of a new Torah. I don't know where it's coming from, but we got to get it out. And I'm sure I'm still not saying the right thing, but that made me realize that when we talk to young people, but we have to give them the strength to know that there is a Torah available for you when you need something for the moment.
Well, this is very beautiful, Shlomo, and I think everybody senses it about you. But it's almost between the devil and the deep blue sea. You seem to be agreeing that the Torah of the moment you have translated into the Torah of not of always of your generation. This must make you very alone, a very lonely person. I mean, who on earth would you discuss this with? Which Rebbe could you turn to and say, I need to develop a Torah of the moment? Who would you say that to? Yam Shemata?
No. I'd come to you, Rav Meir. Come to Mimi. Come to Menachem. Come to Yeshua. Tell you. You know, it's crazy, you know. Won't you know something? Because a lot of people ask me, what's your reaction to conservative reform, Orthodox? I want to tell you a way out story, which personal. I'm coming, you know, in good old days, it was Delta flight leaving San Francisco 1 in the morning, arriving 6:10 in Cincinnati, and 8:30 Cincinnati, arriving 10 after 10 New York. It's a good flight. So I would take it a lot of times. So I could stay all night in the house of love and prayer and then go back to New York. And you know, Rabbi Gottschalk, who's the head of the Reform movement, happens to be a good friend to me, because he was once a rabbi in San Francisco, and he would come a lot of times to house of love and prayer. Good. Anyway, I'm going on this plane to New York. The second row is Rosh Shiva. I woke up to him and said, Gewalt. Shalom Aleichem. How are you doing? You know, I could see he's counting his finger after I let go of his hand. He wasn't sure if I gave him 5 or 4 or maybe 6, you know. He just didn't ask me how he was. He knows me for so many years. Ask me, how are you? Simple child, right? I'm going further back, and suddenly I see that Rabbi Gottschalk sitting in the last row. Rabbi Gottschalk got up, and we hugged each other, we kissed for a half hour. And Rabbi Gottschalk says to me, you know, he says, I love you so much, he says, because I know that you never let go of your dreams, you know. I said to myself, isn't that heartbreaking? See, it's Rosh Hashanah, we went to yeshiva together for so many years. Doesn't have the faintest idea what I'm into, what I'm out of, what I want. And here I got shocked. And according to this Rosh Hashanah, he's who knows what, right? And yet there's something, he's so connected to deep Torah, unconnected to, right? It's hard to know. You know, like, but again, it's getting better. I want you to know there's a tremendous awakening in the yeshiva world. Not by all of them, but some of them, you know, like, you know what Moshe Rabbeinu did? He brought the Torah down to the world. He didn't schlep us up to heaven to listen to God, but he brought God down. And you know, to bring God down to the world is not so simple. And the more you bring God down, the more you bring Mount Sinai to the world. And you know, Mount Sinai is really God to the world, but doesn't compare to the way Yerushalayim is in the world. Yerushalayim is even deeper. And I don't know.
But look at what you've just done. I asked you for a name of one Rebbe that you would turn to as a sounding board in your loneliness of Torah of the moment, and you've told an anecdote in which basically you're saying that the Reform rabbi has more in common with me than this guy I learned with in the yeshiva. Now,
on the moment level, yeah.
On the moment level. That's right. Which for you is the most important thing. Though for you it's a moment within the context of Torah laws, I acknowledge.
Yeah.
Now that poses a terrifying problem, because it suggests that, maybe I shouldn't say this in public.
Why not? I said it already, it's too late now to go back.
The world of the Torah of always is not helping me appreciate the Torah of the moment. In fact, it's almost inhibiting the Torah of the moment.
According to them, doesn't exist.
Right. But for you, not only does it exist, it's the most important thing, and you're finding your commonality with somebody who doesn't accept the Torah of the always. He only accepts the Torah of the moment. That was your answer via your story to my question.
100%. The saddest thing is that, you know what it is? Again, I'm sure you'll be angry at me if they said, no, forgive me. You know, talking about drugs, right? I'm not saying everybody should take it, but there are some people I wish they would, you know? And they are so stiff, you know? And their consciousness is so underdeveloped. As mamish like, can't believe it, right? You know, I tell you something, it is very strange. When I play for, I don't want to say anything bad, when I play for certain people, they only want to hear old nigunim, which I made 30 years ago. And I, for myself, I realize the older I get, the more my consciousness has really developed. So nigunim, which I made in the last 10, 15 years, are really meant for people with a high consciousness. They can't take it. I tell you something. I play for Hillel somewhere, and everybody knows, without saying anything bad, that the consciousness of the Hillel rabbis most probably is, maybe it was my consciousness the first 20 minutes when I was born. But after that,
With the exception.
oh, hey, wait, Yossi is my man. What are you talking? Yossi is one of my super tough moment people. Hey, Yossi, better stand up and wave at me, mama. Him and the Viola. But, you know, I want you to know, Yossi is one of the only Hill rabbis who ever invites me, you know. This is a sign of consciousness, right? So anyway, I'm playing for this Hillel rabbi, and there is an ashram next to it. It was not like, you know, next to Yossi is Baba, also the Hare Krishna. It's a long story, but I only wanted, because I went with Yossi to visit the Rebbe, and I'll tell you later where it was, in a city, and the concert was awesome. Concert was awesome. After the concert, the Hillel rabbi comes up to me and he says, I didn't like your concert. You didn't sing Esoena. And I didn't see, he counted me 5 nigunim. If I can share with you something. At that concert, and I was reminded because someone gave me miraculously a tape of that concert. It was about 72, 73. And there were a lot of yogis there. I mean, all Yidden, you know. We asked someone, your name is Hookah or something. What was your name before? Moshe Cohen, you know, something like that. You ask a girl, you know, her name was Chavana. Anyway, suddenly a young lady gets up. She was not a yogi, just a very fancy young lady. And people told me that she is one of the top rock stars in that neighborhood where it was. And she says to me, can I sing a song? Sure. I'll be so glad. And you don't mind, huh? I'm giving it over to them. The song I was singing in the middle was a song, give me harmony. So this thing lately I'm singing to Mitzvah David. But then 72, 73, 74, I was singing like this every Friday night. Shabbat Shalom Ay Umevorach Ay Shabbat Shalom Ay Good Shabbos, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Hay Umevorach, Shabbat Shalom, Hay Umevorach. So you have to help me, give me good harmony. So this young lady comes on stage and she begins singing. Give me harmony. She says, my name is Bashan Yu. My name is Bashan Yu. My name is Bashan Yu. And my Zayd is Moshe the Baba from the Bronx. Because if I got to tell you before this sing like Chazonas, she says, my Zaydah is Moshe the Baba from the Bronx. Moshe the Baba, don't make me laugh. Moshe the Baba from the Bronx, don't make me cry. Crying. Stranger says every Shabbos morning, my Zaydah would wake me up, and he would say, Bashan, you my tired kid, let's go to shul. Go to shul? Don't make me laugh. Go to shul, don't make me cry. Then my Zaydah would take his talis, and he would say, Bashan, you my kind, I want you to carry the talis. Talis? Don't make me laugh. My Zaydah's talis. Don't make me cry. And then my Zaydah would begin to daven. with so much heart, with so much soul. And he would cry, and he would cry, and he would hold my hand. My Zayda's tears don't make me laugh. My Zayda's tears don't make me cry. And after the davening, he would take me by the hand and go up to the Rebbe. He would say, Rebbe, bless my ankle. Bashen you. My ankle. Bless me. Don't make me laugh. Bless me. Don't make me cry. Good Shabbos, good Shabbos. Good Shabbos, good Shabbos, good Shabbos. Good Shabbos. Don't make me laugh. Good Shabbos. Don't make me cry. Best thing I ever heard in my life. The saddest thing in the world is I was in touch with her for many years. And suddenly I lost touch with her. And after I lost touch with her, I stopped singing her niggun. Crazy. Would you believe it? A person who drove me to the airport now to come to Eretz Yisrael, he says, you know, someone gave me an old tape of one of your concerts. Bashan was on it. So anyway, I got to put it on the record, you know. It's awesome, no? You know what she says in those words, you could not write in a book. You couldn't say it. You can only sing it. But anyway, you know, I'm telling you this contrast. Without knocking him. Bashni, you sing this song at my concert. Isn't that worth $10 billion? And he comes to complain I didn't sing a Serena. I couldn't believe my ears. He's a cute Yiddish, you know. If he wants to be a shoemaker, mazel tov. But to be a rabbi, a hill rabbi, heartbreaking, right? Would you talk to him if you have a problem? I would ask him where's the nearest grocery store. Yeah, that's what I would ask him. I would maybe call him up and ask him what time is Lichtbenchen. Anything more I wouldn't, right? But you know what it is? We need what we need. And this is what's so special about your car. We need people with high consciousness. People with high consciousness be connected to the Torah. You know, we lost a whole generation of Balit Shuvah because the people who had the chutzpah to think they can teach them, they can't, because those kids who come back to Yiddishkeit, their consciousness is developed 2,000 light years, and the person who wants to teach them Torah is behind them millions of years. So may Allah just bless you. You should have mamish on the step, people with high consciousness. And if Bashan you ever shows up in your car, you know, you should feel at home.
I think of Shlomo, maybe there are other people here who would like to ask you questions. I just want to tell you that I have no doubt in my mind that if you had to choose between learning, teaching and singing, that your Shorosh Neshama is in singing. And I think that through song you communicate something godlike. And if you can communicate that godlikeness, then it's you. I've always felt that the reason why in Tehillim you have all these different types of musical instruments is because a human being in Avodas Hashem, he serves God, is like a musical instrument being played upon, where the most noble sounds emanate from him just being a kli on which something else is strumming. And that's what I feel about your Nigun.
Thank you so much. Is anybody else who would like to ask a Shlomo question?
Da heilige diese Rab Yossele gewalt.
Why did you neglect that, or maybe how do you see the story as linking together the words of Torah and the sea?
He's asking.
Telling stories. But I don't see telling stories as being a separate category to teaching. Nor do I really believe that singing is a separate category to teaching, but then I wouldn't have my question. I just think the story, if you have the gift to tell stories, is just a very sensitive way of conveying an idea. And I think one has to move away completely from her Rabbina professor speaking from Mount Olympus down to mere mortals who are just going to receive words of wisdom. And I think that's the beauty of Shlomo. So for me, storytelling is the highest form of chinuch. I also think there's another form of chinuch which somebody has to develop, especially for the non-frum world, which is self-deprecatory humor. I don't have to say it properly. Self-deprecatory humor, to make fun of yourself as a way of allowing people in. But that's also chinuch.
Okay, I'll tell you a good joke. I think I shared it with you. It's a good one.
At the expense of yourself.
At the expense of myself. You know, there's a Yid, a miser, and he never gives his wife money to buy fish for Shabbos. One of my favorite jokes. Finally, his wife says to him, "Listen, Moshe, if you don't give me money for fish, I'm ready to divorce you." Well, maybe it happens all the time, right? Anyway, so he gives her 50 cents. She goes to the fish market. What can she get for 50 cents? You know, a fish like from 2,000 years ago. It smells so bad, she cooks it and fries it, but it doesn't help. Finally, the Yid comes home Friday night, he puts his teeth in. So she takes the fish and she wants to throw it in the garbage pan. He says, no, he says, in my house, you don't throw anything out. He goes back to shul. There's Nebuchadnezzar Yid, who was never invited by anybody, hungry, thirsty. He says, would you like to have some fish? Sure. And he's so hungry, he eats the whole fish. As he finishes the fish, he faints. They call the ambulance, bring him in a hospital. The next day, the Yid goes to visit him. Bikar, right? Sunday, they call him, the Yid died. He goes to the funeral. Comes home, he says to his wife, you see, you wanted to throw out the fish, and I fulfilled 3 mitzvahs. I fed the poor, I visited the sick, and I went to a funeral. Well, I tell you about Rabbi Yossi, you know, I have to tell you something, since we're such good friends. It took me a long time until I got through to the public to let me tell a story. Until today, a lot of synagogues, they invite me for a concert, and I have to sign the contract that I will not tell a story. I'll tell you, Rabbi Yosef, an unbelievable story. I'm giving, without mentioning names, this huge Orthodox shul. You know Sammy, my man, right? So they call up Sammy and they say, we would like him to give a concert. It's a fundraising concert, it'll be 1,000 people, but I have to sign that I will not tell the story. Sing one song after the other. So the first part, you know something you play for money, right? Not much joy in it. Anyway, so I'm singing one song after the other, then have intermission. During intermission, people come up and say, what happened to you? You're not yourself tonight. You're knocking off one. First of all, you know, between one song and the other, you need something, right? And where are your stories? So the president was standing next to me and says, you know, brother, better talk to the president. I had to sign that I'm not telling a story. So the president, no, I was only joking, you know, I didn't mean So the second part, Mamish told some Gewalt stories, and I hate to tell you a bad thing, the president was sitting there and crying his eyes out, you know. But you know, even today, even until today, there are people who will not buy a tape which has a story on it. And then there's some other people who only want a tape which has a story on it. But it's again, you know, people with a very low consciousness, they can't stand my stories. Because I think my stories are not just stupid stories, you know. I sometimes say, listen to the so-called storytellers. Meaningless, stupid, doesn't touch you, you don't cry, you don't laugh, and you just look at the watch, hope it's over soon. You know what a good story is? A good story is a story when you listen to the person who's telling it, you're praying inside, I hope it's a long story. It's true,
There are people who think so, particularly the campus ministers, who refuse to let me live. They constantly want to know, when is the man in the story? And this is necessarily the story, because I don't know if that tradition has that. They have it from way back, but not.
Okay, I'd like to ask...
Yossi, you're the best.
I'd like to ask Mimi to help us sing this other nivel where Shlomo suddenly changes in midstream.
Which means that?
It's one of the better examples. It's only downstairs as a better example. But I think it's not your different.
Oh,
A made for Tzvi. Oh, this is unbelievable. But this, I mamish need good harmony, really. Hey, Devorah, you better sing with me. Da-di-da-da, 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 da-di-da-da-da-da, di-da-da-da, 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 da-da-da-da, da-di-da-da, da-di-da-da, da-di-di-di. Now I need Mama's even gewalt harmony.
one last sort of almost cry. I don't think that you have any image of somebody that you can follow. That's what it boils down to. There is no image, there's no individual where you can say, this is what I should be. You can take certain aspects of certain individuals, but you are your own image. You are guided totally by Mineo Bay, what is coming through you. You have nobody to look at and say, that's what I should be.
Let me ask you, is it a chutzpah? Or it's okay?
No,
I'm asking you straight.
I'm not here to make a judgment.
No, I'm asking you
here
for myself.
The people should understand the courage of what you're doing. And to see how you would react to the question. I'm not making a bad judgment.
No, 100%, you know. I tell you, you know, I don't know, I'm thinking to myself, you know, one thing is clear to me. If I would have asked people what I should do, I would never do what I'm doing.
Yes.
Although a few times I did ask Moshe. I'll tell you one of the things I asked Moshe. I don't know why I had this attack I should ask Moshe. A Fumi attack.
But only for the moment.
For the moment. I got a call. You know, today Shemer Tzir is not the way it was. In former Gedei, Shemer Tzir was really like, they hated religion and, you know. Crazily enough, I get a call from Shemer Tzir. It was like end of 60s or beginning of 70s, to give a concert the night before Shavuos in their camp in the mountain. It's a major breakthrough. Shemer Tzir invites me. But a concert in the 9 days, the night before Shavuos. Called up Moshe. And Moshe was a Gewalt Yid. He says, Laman Hashem, you better go. It means, for God's sake, you better go, right? But again, Ramosha is one in the world. Anybody else that would have asked? Okay, maybe today, it's already, the consciousness of the rabbi, some rabbis have been growing up also. And I tell you something, would you believe that how fanatic I was when I was going to yeshiva? When I was in yeshiva, when I was maybe 16, 17, someone came back from Eretz Yisrael. I remember it like today. We were up all night, we couldn't listen enough to what he was telling us. He was telling us that in Yerushalayim, there are young people who get together Friday night, and they throw stones at the cars who drive on Shabbos. And I was praying inside, when will I have this privilege? When will I have Gewalt, Gebäude Shalom? It was clear to me that until you throw stones at Michal Shabbos, you don't really know what Yiddishkeit is. But then I grew up, Hashem, a little bit.
I thought you were going to say that when you were a young man, you heard that somebody came back from Yerushalayim and told you there's a guy called Kרליבך who sings to all sorts of audiences, and you felt, Matai, I would have the zechus to throw a stone.
I'm sure would have. I tell you what, it took me personally, if you ask me, from being such a fanatic. I tell you how fanatic I was. I was in yeshiva, and I would mamish not talk to girls. Simple as it is. Not talk to girls. One time I saw my chavrusa was standing talking to a girl. I stopped learning with him. I'm serious. I said, you are not holy enough to be my chavrusa. You know what it is? I checked on him what happened to him. He became a top therapist. And I am what I am. The one time we met again, say, you remember I stopped learning with you because you were talking to girls, and he says, come out. So anyway, he looks at me and he says, I always had the feeling, you need a therapist in the worst way. You're just so far gone, I don't even think a therapist can help you. But I tell you what, I cannot tell you, I'm too close to you, but I can give you the name of one of my best friends. And if someone says to you, what do I know? Maybe he's right. Okay, I'm going to this therapist. Mazel tov. He says to me, I'm so glad you came, I need a rabbi so badly. And he starts telling me, he says, my mother, you wouldn't believe what she's doing to me. And my wife, I'm sitting there for an hour, and then he says to me, I'm so glad you came, but it's $75 special for a rabbi. So what a chutzpah, He wants to unload on me, so that was the last time I went to a therapist. But it's very crazy, A lot of my friends literally stopped talking to me. And again, I have a very deep feeling that for every friend I lost, I gained at least 100 friends. I'll tell you something, one time, it was many years ago, someone insulted me so much, and I thought, maybe he's right, I'm not God, right? What do I know? I wasn't particular. And I was sitting in a coffee shop, and I was thinking, maybe I'm really wrong. Maybe I am wrong. What do I know? Suddenly an old Yiddish comes and he sits next to me. There's a high consciousness. He says to me, Shlomo, I want you to know something. Many years from now, everybody will do what you're doing, because there is no other way. But, he says, I just bless you that they should remember that you were the first. Well, I'll tell you, I wouldn't say Mama's the first, but let's say one of the first, Gamel, I don't know if you know how much good you are doing for the world. Yeah, I'm telling you. I'm going to interview a male now.
There are two things I want to say, and then I want to drop my question from there. One is that in our class that I was teaching tonight, towards the end of the class, one of the participants, one of the students said, "So what's so special about this Karbach? So how is he different than other Rebbes?" And I said that today, if you want to see a Rebbe, you have to go to see him. And if there's only one Rebbe in the world that comes to see you, and that's Shlomo.
Pretty good, yeah. I'll have to remember it.
And in a story that I wrote this year, in one place I describe you. And one of the pieces of the description is that Reb Shlomo is the kind of person that if you're about to jump off a bridge and you have a dime in your pocket, then you'll use that dime to call Reb Shlomo, and you can be sure that he'll walk you off the bridge safely. So when I open a sefer and I don't understand something, I think that you've taught me the questions to ask. And if I don't have a question to ask, then I say, if it's the Mashilach, I say, Helege, Ishbitzer. Either you answer me, or you tell me what Reb Shlomo would ask. And I wait for the question or the answer. But when I walk the streets, I don't even know what questions to ask. And I was hoping that right now maybe you could teach us what questions to ask on the street, and how can we learn to walk the streets the way you walk the streets. And where do we draw the courage to be able to open our hearts? Like you said this morning, opening your heart is also a way of Hachnasat Orchim. How can we learn to open our hearts to every person on the street? The way you do. Anyway, we'd like to learn from you.
Listen, Mimi, I tell you what, you are one of the people who really doesn't have to learn by me. Because Hashem, God gave you everything in your heart. The mamish don't need me. But since you asked me, let's assume you wouldn't know, then I would tell you. But you know anyway. You know, one of the things which I realized when I was in yeshiva, which is missing, there's the Torah b'shivtecha b'vesecha, when you sit at home, and then there's the Torah b'lechtcha b'derech, when you walk on the street, walk away. When I was in yeshiva, the Torah b'shivtecha b'vesecha I learned. Gewalt did I learn it. At that time. Nobody taught me. Nobody taught me what you do when you walk on the street. The only thing I had, the great privilege, that I had a father who was a streetwalker. My father, when he walked on the street, every person was eager to talk to him. I remember when I was a little boy, 3-4 years old, and sometimes my father would take us to a restaurant. Every waiter, every waitress came running, they wanted to serve the table my father was sitting on. And my father would ask every waiter, so, what's your name? I was just, even when they were bitter and downhearted and broken, just give them so much strength. I remember when I was 4, and you know, and to see I wanted so much to be a rabbi. So I thought this is what you're supposed to be doing as a rabbi, right? So imagine when we would go to this restaurant. I remember one time really, Carol knew my mother. You know, my mother was not so much into street walking. When you go on the street, do what you have to do, go to the store and buy it and come home, and that's it. Anyway, we're in this restaurant. I don't know why I didn't forget it. And so, you know, little kids run around. So let's say my father ordered soup until the waitress brings it. And I walked up to every table. And I began shaking hands with all the people and asked them how they are. Oh, what's your name? Or what brings you here? You know, like. And I was so happy, and I'm learning how to be a rabbi. And then suddenly hear my mother's voice. Was it Schlaume? Komm sofort her, you know. Come immediately here. And then my father would say, you know, ach, lass ihn doch, you know, let him. Well, you know, my father would never argue. But I think I mentioned last week, I was telling Ramel, he told me he walked with my father on Broadway. And completely broken person, woman, rags. I'm sure if she would look in the mirror, she wouldn't even recognize herself. She walked up to my father and she says, you really have God's image. So my father says to her, you have God's image. That's a little woman, you know. Suddenly she didn't wear rags anymore. So, you know what it is? We learn it a lot of times. This lifetime is most probably the happiest lifetime we ever had. Don't know how many we have. According to our tradition, according to the Zohar, you come down 3-4 times. In emergency 5. But you know what, this lifetime, we re-meet all the people. We re-meet all the people from previous lifetimes. It's awesome. And when I walk on the street, I want so much, if there's anybody whom I'm supposed to meet, please don't let me pass this person by. And a lot of times it takes a lot of guts. It takes really courage. It takes courage to stop a person on the street and say, hey, who are you? Because it's crazy, right? Crazy. But I would say that 99% we are living in a more open world. And, you know, it took me a little while also to not be afraid to stop people. And, you know, it's as far as I'm concerned, if I could say that God gave me a gift, besides maybe making Abdin Gunim a learning, that God gave me the courage, not because of people, despite of people, to stop them. And you know, like, Mimi remembers in Poland, you know, in Poland, it's like 200 years behind America in regard to talk to strangers, right? And you know, in Poland, when we gave the concerts, and the first time, for 99%, I mean, there were some Jews there also, but 99% non-Jews, and suddenly the first time I see a Jew, we did not handle it right exactly. So here I woke up, I kissed every person. And you know, for the first split second, maybe we were a little frightened. On the other hand, it was, I will tell you something, when I arrived in Poland, remember Mimi? Television asked me, what do you want to do in Poland? He says, I want to embrace and kiss every human being in Poland. I said, I want you to know that basically I'm bringing you a message from my great-great-grandfather, the Heilige Bach, the Holy Bach, who was the chief rabbi in Krakow, 1640. But the saddest thing is, when he was alive, without hurting your feelings, you Polish people were not interested in listening to him. So now, so many years later, I'm his great-grandson. And I have a very simple message. The message is, there's only one God. And we all are brothers and sisters. We all are brothers and sisters. The next morning, remember Mimi, I told you, jet lag, I woke up 5 in the morning. And the hotel where we were was officially like 4 stars, not 5. On the other half of the street was the Intercontinental, 5 stars. There the coffee shop is already open. I'm going in there, just a few people. And the woman, the manager of the coffee shop, comes up to me and just says, aren't you the person who was yesterday on television and you said you want to embrace every person? Can I please have a hug? And then all the waitresses came. I was the cutest. And then one waitress says to me, it's broken English. I hate to ask you, but it would mean so much to me. I have 3 children. Could you wait till I bring them? And it was gewalt, right? Just remember when we came in lodge and thousands of people came, and there was Mama standing by the door and kissing every person who walks in. And I had the courage to kiss them even if they didn't want to. Because after I kissed them, they realized, it was so good, I want you to know, when I came to Soweto, our black brothers, they definitely don't know, because it's not their fault, right, but they don't know how to handle a white man, right? And it was unbelievable. I was on television, so I get a call from Soweto that there is like a house for ex-drug addicts, for ex-convicts, and ex-prostitutes, hundreds. And even if they're out of it, they're still broken. And they invited the whole community. Should have taken everybody with me. And I walk in there, and after about 10 minutes, after kissing most of them, then the rest were like, I have to say, there's one cute thing. They could not pronounce my name. Shlomo, it's hard for them to pronounce, right? The only thing is, they know one Jew, Jesus, right? So after each song, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus. It was unbelievable. Anyway, l'chaim. So Mimi, I want this one to tell you. I bless you that all the people who are connected to your neshama, and I'm sure there are hundreds, thousands, bless you to have the courage to stop them. And just, hello. You see, the world always thinks when you stop someone you have to have an excuse. Didn't I meet you somewhere? You look exactly like my sister's friend or something. Don't need any excuses. Talk straight. How are you? Who are you? And my beautiful friends, there's a Zohar Kodesh, which is awesome. There are 2 questions you can ask another human being. What are you? And who are you? When you ask, what are you? You're destroying the world. You ask, who are you? You're building the world. I ask you, what are you? Are you white? Are you green? Are you Jewish? Are you not? I ask, who are you? But here's a Zohar Kodesh says the deepest Torah in the world. When you ask God, what are you? He doesn't answer. When you ask God, who are you? Mi Bora Eile, right? Then the worship answers.
I'd like to ask Alan if he would like to ask the question. Alan, would you like to ask the question?
And we followed you all over, and suddenly the home disappeared. So I really didn't search for them, but suddenly years later, when I was 15 years old, I discovered those people, and they look completely Hasidic, long pants and black hats, and and they belong to another crowd now. So I never had the guts to ask them, you're still in contact with Shlomo? But I know these people, few of them, at least two. One of them, I think you were Masada Kiddushin also, and he's really known as a very, very, they give him a lot of respect where he is now. I cannot mention names. So they are not, you don't see them anymore in the public with you. But I want to ask you if you see them. And that means if you see them, so you see them only in a mystery.
It's a good question. I have to tell you two things. First of all, a lot of people who know nothing, right? Sometimes to deal with them. I mean, they know maybe a lot in their hearts, but when it comes to Yiddishkeit, they don't know so much. And let's say I'm their first kindergarten teacher, right? So they think I'm giving them kindergarten stuff. But then they have to grow up and go to university, right? The only thing is they don't know that I gave them university stuff. And they go to kindergarten stuff now. You know, without bragging, my weddings are beyond university, right? My weddings are really gewalt. Then, a lot of people, I was mamish like Megaya, and they were at a lot of my weddings, and then they get married, and they have like a little, and they ask you, how was the wedding? Oh, the dancing was like about. The dancing, the wedding is the dancing, what about the chuppah? Oh, what can you do about the chuppah? You drink wine, you make a few brachos, and you go home. You know what it is? They think they got higher. And then they look at me and think, I was just the beginning. But then there are kids who maybe broke away from me a little bit because they thought I'm giving them kindergarten stuff and they're looking for something better. Eventually they come back and they realize maybe your stuff was a little bit higher. But this is one answer, but I'll give you the real answer. I met this Russian doctor. This is a good Torah. Nebuch, he came from Russia. His wife was not Jewish, and when he wanted to go to Israel, she divorced him. Okay, good. Comes to Israel, he wants so much to get married. So he was the head of the hospital in Moscow, really, the top surgeon. But Israel should live long and happy, and the doctors, when the Gewalt doctor comes and not say Gewalt, we got to give him the highest position because maybe he knows more than we do. Remember, they reduced him to be a male nurse. Okay, anyway, he's a male nurse. I meet him, he says to me, you know something? Rosh Hashanah was Thursday, Friday, Shabbos. And there are a lot of Sfardim who prepare real heavy food, right? It doesn't all go into the frigidaire. So you can imagine on Shabbos was very hot. When you eat food which was cooked on Wednesday, on Tuesday not in the frigidaire, let's not even talk about it. He says, I had hundreds of people to whom I had to pump out the stomach. And without sounding coarse, it doesn't smell like, Chanel perfume, right? He says, I was pumping out the stomach of a young lady. And I tell you something, sounds stupid to you, he says. I fell madly in love with her. She's just an angel from heaven. But I couldn't ask her address or anything. The next day I'm going to Bank Leumi. I don't believe it, she's in front of me. So I said to her, Do you remember me? When she saw me, she ran out. She ran out. And he says, do you understand? She identified me with the smell of her stomach. Because I pumped her out. So I'm part of that pumped out. And it gave me so much strength. All the people who I pumped out their gorgeous stomach, then they go to yeshiva and they identify me with their own smell. Mazel tov.
It's a beautiful answer, but I think there's another angle.
Let's see it.
Well, yours is a psychological interpretation
Yeah.
of identification, almost self-hatred. There's something more disturbing. See, there's to do, to become, and to be. And what you're talking about in all your Torahs is to be, as the goal. For these loving Yiddish, they're coming in to points where they're being moved from wherever they were to do. So they're getting stuck in the do, and they identify the do as higher than to be. But we know the purpose of to do is to become, eventually to be. So I think, maybe I shouldn't be saying this in public.
Oh, yeah.
It is the behavioral lifestyle which isn't being explained as a structure in which to become to be. It becomes this end in itself which inhibits, unless it's explained, or can inhibit, and that's why they have difficulty in understanding.
Well, it's a very deep Torah what you're saying. You know, there were times when it really did hurt me a little bit. I'm walking down Mei Shorim on the street, and there I see, he's now a younger man. I picked him up in Chicago. A real pickup. I met him somewhere, started talking to him. And I said to him, aren't you ashamed? If I would have given you $1 million 5 years ago, you would lick me, right? Even if now you're a rich man on your own. I gave you the Torah, I gave you Yiddishkeit. How dare you pass me by without saying thank you? Schgemeinschaftkeit, you know? I know a lot of kids who I met in America sometimes, and I sent them to America. Not only I sent them to Israel, sent them to Israel. Not only I sent them to Israel, I paid their ticket. Because I knew if I wait till their parents pay the ticket, they'll never go. They're learning in yeshivas. Can't believe it. Like it don't exist. It's really a chutzpah, you know? You know, when I got married, you know, I wasn't short on people who send me telegrams or letters. I said to one girl, I picked her up, she was mamish in the dumps. In San Francisco, in the dumps. She was a Zen Buddhist and in the dumps, both together. You know what? We picked her up, we made a mensch out of her, we paid her ticket to New York, and she joined a certain group, she got married. Then I saw her one time on the street. I said, you know something? How can you hear that I got married without wishing me mazel tov? What's going on there? The essence of Yiddishkeit is being thankful. You know what the Jew is, a Yid? Comes the word Yehuda, Hapam Oidus Hashem. I'm thanking God. And if you don't have that feeling of thankfulness to someone who gave you something, what's good is a whole Yiddishkeit, you know? But you see, Rabbi Yehuda, whenever I'm sad about somebody who doesn't talk to me, Baruch Hashem, God helps me that I'm meeting 2 new people who I hope will talk to me until they decide not to talk to me.
wonder if Miki went. Could you help me remember?
Could I ask you to sing this little part again with the back over
This is my man.
Uh-huh.
What's your name? David. So David Amelach, you are. But ich can mamish give me real good harmony, folks. I'm singing very slow. You know who was with us in Poland, Brother Yachatl? Yachatl was the first bar mitzvah. There was one bar mitzvah since the Second World War, but was that never the boy didn't know anything. So Yachatl was the first bar mitzvah in Warsaw, in the shul. And Mamash Yachatl was the top man on television, you remember? Because he had long hair, well. If you tell you something funny, I don't do a following Yachatl over, but anyway, when we arrived, you remember, television come, and they talk to us. And the person, the photographer, the whole time says to me, slim, slim, slim. And I felt so bad, that means he wants me to lose weight, slim. And I felt so bad, I said, okay, promise you when I come back next time, I'll be thinner. Then I realized, you know what he meant? Smile. Said slim. But anyway, Yachatl didn't need any slimming because his payers will go out. Yachatl, we have to go back to Poland. Sure. Batya, you're the best.
helps me with how you learn, how you give over what you learn. And thank God this year I've had the privilege with my chavruta to be learning a lot and to be learning some Gemaras in a deep, deep way. And one of the things that I've really come to learn is that the most important thing is the question you ask about the Gemara, the Sefer, whatever it is you're reading. And so I guess what I want to ask you is, when you're learning a Sefer, what are the questions that you're asking?
Question bothers me. I want to taste the depths of it, you know? I'm thinking, what does he say? Because, you know, taking more Rashi and Taisus, you know? Sometimes, you know, it sounds simple. It can't be. If it's simple, Rashi is not going to waste his word. Taisus, you know. Meshalach, every word, you know. And you know something, it's like every word about Tzaddikim of the Chum, you know, is so much depth, so like, you know, I had this Rebbe, Reb Shlomo Hyman, when he would say 1 and 1 is 2, it's like he would throw you in the abyss of depth. Just 1 and 1 is 2. Couldn't believe it, right? It's really true, 1 and 1 is 2, you know. And there were some people who were not so deep, they would say, oh, he didn't say anything. But those who knew what he says, everything in the world is deep. And I can only bless you if you have good questions, good. But the deepest question should be inside of you, have I tasted the depths of what the Torah says? And you see, the moment you start asking for the depths, you're already knocking on the door. You know, every letter opens a different door. I have to tell you, can I tell one more Gewalt story? Covid Shabbos is Thursday night. It's Gewalt. I'll make it fast. Yeah? You know, there was one of the biggest Ge'onim in Hungary. His name is Rav Aryeh. And what was his name? I forget what his name was. Something with Aryeh, don't remember. Stupidly just get out of my head. He later on became one of the greatest Ge'onim in Hungary, and he became a big son of Chassid. But here he was learning in Pressburg. He is 16 years old. And you know, some Sofer were not Misnagim, were not Chassidim, they're all great Kabbalists. So the Sofer saw his mamash into Shabbos. He says to him, listen, Rav Aryeh, I see your mamash into Shabbos. If you want to have a real Shabbos, you got to go to Sanz. So the heading of Rav Aryeh thought, in Pressburg, you know what's going on? In Pressburg, mamash 2 hours before Lichtbench, the whole yeshiva is there, they're learning, then they daven Marv, they eat, and then they learn again all night. The next morning they daven, they eat, they learn. Like Shabbos, you learn 48 hours. So I assumed if in Sanz the Shabbos is even better, that means they're learning 150 hours a minute. I give out, was he mistaken? Because coming to Sanz 2 hours before Shabbos is chaos. One is falling over the other. There's one to the mikveh, this one doesn't know where to eat, so there's no cheshmeh. He says, oh, vey, you know, stupidly, why didn't I stay in Pressburg? Anyway, the chaos is over. They don't daven on time. It's already 2 hours after Shabbos. Anyway, they daven Marav. And you can't say the Marav is a Gewalt, right? Holy Sansa. And Bukhshem, they begin to learn. Because the Sansa's teaches maybe 4 hours after Marav. Everybody takes the Gemara, and without being bored, you have to watch me a little bit. Everybody takes the Gemara and sits down to learn. And he begins to learn. Suddenly he looks around. The Gemaras are not opened. Everybody has a Gemara. And everybody's sitting with closed eyes. They're lunatics or something. They're sitting here, they have a Gemara and they don't open it. He keeps on learning and watching. They're really crazy. Mom is absolutely crazy. And suddenly, someone picks up a Gemara and says, Heilige Shabbos, Visa Shabbos, Heilige Shabbos. And the other corner of the smell is someone takes the Gemara, begins knocking on the table, Heilige Shabbos, Visa Shabbos. And finally, after 2-3 hours, everybody's banging on the table, Heilige Shabbos, Visa Shabbos. And he can't help it. Suddenly, he himself is doing it. Oh, and he sings, God, Heilige Shabbos, Visa Shabbos. And he thinks, he can't understand himself. I'm supposed to be a normal person, a solid person. I'm crazy. Okay, finally, 1 o'clock at night, word came on the son is going to the table. And this is wild. He tries to stand behind the Sansa. You know the Holy Sansa? Knew the thoughts of every person. After Kiddush, the Holy Sansa turns around to him and says, Hey, younger man, let me tell you something. In the palace of the king, there's so much light. Some people walk in, and the first door opens, the room is full of light. And they're so happy to stay there. Then someone opens another door, more light, and they stay there. And some people looking for more light. It's all beautiful. But then there is somebody who's not looking for light, looking for the king. He goes through all the doors until he finds the king himself. Says, do you understand, younger man? Younger man, during the week we are looking for light, for the light of the Torah. On Shabbos I'm looking for God himself. And then, Sansa was wild. The Holy Sansa put his holy hand, on this from Aya's shoulder and says, Der Herr's younger man. On Shabbos sucht man dem heiligen Beschöpfer allein, looking for God himself. And many years later was Parshas Bolak. And every year on Parshas Bolak, the Ram Aryeh assembled all his grandchildren, and they would be there for Shabbos, and he would tell them the story. Then he would say, can you imagine, here on my shoulder, the Holy Sansa, with his holy hand, told me, younger man, on Shabbos you're looking for God himself. And then all the grandchildren would come, and they kiss that spot that the Holy Sansa told them. And once you know, one of his great-grandchildren lives now in Williamsburg. He came out, I have to find him, with the Toldus of his great-grandfather. And he writes it in the foreword that his father was one of the Einiklech who kissed the shoulder of his grandfather, because the Holy Sansa taught him that.
Shlomo, I want to bless you. So I think your answer to Batya is that sure, the questions are a way of understanding, but real understanding is for the thing to become part of you to enter what you would call the difference between the insider and the outsider, what I would call to internalize. And you don't need me to say to you, but I said anyhow, of all the thousands of people that you have touched, people who would appear to be at the edges of the Jewish people, you've also you've produced people who have
internalized everything that you wanted to convey to them. So it's no longer a question of knowledge, it's a question of being. And you have Talmudim in Yerushalayim who live your Torah, not necessarily consciously, it's them. And even the way they talk is, without realizing it, it's Shlomeese, as it were. And leaving the other side, they have totally internalized your Torah. And there can't be any greater form of creation than what you've done.
Thank you so much, Romero. Well, you're the best. And let's maybe sing one more time, Yisholem B'Chelech, to connect to the beginning. Shalom B'Chelech Shalva B'Amenotayim Hayehi Shalom B'Chelech Shalva B'Amenotayim Hayehi Cutest cousin.
First I wrote, how could I ask? But then you wrote, I want to ask. So since she's my Rebbe, I have to keep it. Maybe because you taught me for so long, and I took it so seriously.
How could you?
It's long, genetic long. And when I hear Miki speaking about you as though you were a shita, as though you were a way, that I react against that because it doesn't feel like what you taught me. And so I want to ask you first if you really want to be a way, or if what I think, even though Micky's right, I mean, everybody speaks Gibal, so at that level there's mimicked a way, but it's a way to access something about getting inside and holding something. But from what I really feel I learned from you is to be my own way. And that's daring, and I think more daring for women in a lot of ways. So I want you to bless all of us here, say yes to what I'm saying. Thank you.
Yeah, she was right.
That's okay. But say yes to us. Yes, I want you to be your own way.
Listen, Kel Sugar Pie, let me tell you. I don't want to say anything good or bad. Usually, I couldn't really do it here, and because it didn't come out. And my shul, my Shabbos. Everybody wants to say Torah, says Torah. Says, I really want everybody to, mamish, to say their own. I don't want them to chew over my Torah. I never asked anybody can you please tell me back what I said last week? I always ask them, what do you have to say, right? Okay, if someone said, you said something, and I forgot it, then I ask them, maybe you can remind me. And I think 100%, you know, I don't want bagel chavra that everybody looks like the other one. And 100%, you know, that's what we need. We need everybody to have their own thing. And Ramel didn't mean to say that I want everybody to chew over my Torahs, and that everybody should, whenever I say something, you should say, yeah, go out, you know. But still, you know what Ramel meant? That, you know what it is? What our chavra is, doesn't really come just from me, from all our chavra. There's a certain sweetness of our chavra. We don't, even if I have it, our chavra are mamash sweet. They have a certain sweetness, and mamash a certain openness. Certain openness, you know? You know, in my shul, Baruch Hashem, I'm sure everywhere, Baruch Hashem Yakar also, but I can trust my chavra, you know? Someone asked me, how much you trust your chavra? I says, I trust my chavra that I would send them to the Eskimos, or the Eskimos will keep Shabbos next week. Mm-hmm. Not because they'll convert to Yiddishkeit, but it'll give them a taste of Shabbos. Oh, it's so good, right? What do you say, Ramel?
You see, Shlomo was explaining this morning the difference between Chochmah and Bina V'Dat. And when he came to Dat, I don't remember exactly what words he said. But what he was saying was, in my terminology, at the level of Dat, there is no gap between knowledge and being. Usually one has an idea, and until the idea takes within Niklat, so one can give a good speech, one can say the ideas, but they're not the person. There's a level of Dat after Bina, way after Chochmah, where there's no gap between the idea and the person. So what I was saying was that I see people who have totally internalized Hasidus, where it isn't a question of I have knowledge and I'm giving knowledge, but it is then there is no longer this gap between knowledge and being. I think myself, who was the stimulant, at least on that level, who caused that? And that must be the greatest confidence that what one is giving is in us, if one sees that happen.
Yeah, listen, Kerry, you know, if you would just chew over what I said, you would be nothing, right? Hashem, God opens gates for you, right? Because you have a big neshama, and Mamash, you have gewalt ideas. I'm sure you're again giving chizik to a lot of people. So when I meet someone who you gave chizik, I wouldn't say it's an imitation of Kel, but I'd say still it's a little bit chosid of Kel, right? Because you gave them chizik. So, you know what Rav Nachman says, the greatest gift when you give to somebody is self-confidence. That's the greatest gift in the world, right? And I just hope we're giving it to each other. You know, the time when Rebbe's thought the more to knock somebody else off, the more from you'll get. But the time for knocking people off is long over. What the world needs today is someone to tell them, you're gewalt, right? You're good, you're sweet. Remember, what do you say? Remember, you're the expert.
But I like Carl's critique, and it's very important to say, because I think one imitates to be reassured, and that must be the kiss of death. But I think what you do project is very much the idea that one has to be real, and not to. In fact, if anything, there's a slight, almost anarchistic element in your teaching, which is not to be taken in by society, but almost to be an outsider to society, or prepared to be, at least.
Yeah, he would say.
So that is very much an individualistic approach. In fact, it's clear to me that if you had played a different tune, then the establishment would have adopted you, and then you wouldn't be you.
Think I missed out?
I genuinely believe there was once a great rabbi called Shakespeare. And Shakespeare said, "This to thine own self be true, and as follow like night the day, thou canst be false to any man."
And he was English, right?
Of course.
Remember the Heilige, the Mordechai Lechowitz, when he passed away, so his son Reb Noach became his successor. So he said, my father never imitated, and I don't imitate. No, wait. He says, I do exactly like what my father did.
No, because somebody said to him, "You're not like your father."
Oh yeah, you see, I have it all wrong. I'm so crazy. So, his father said a moitzi over 12 chalas, and he over 2. So he says, I do exactly like my father. He didn't imitate, and I don't imitate. But, you know what really bugs you and me among a lot of so-called religious people? They mamish imitate each other. It's sometimes so far from real. Like a lot of rabbis, you see everybody the same thing. And I just hope, Rameir, that all the people who we meet, we give them the courage never to imitate anything. And I want to bless you and me. Not only we shouldn't imitate others, we shouldn't even imitate ourselves, because we are so easy imitating my yesterdays, and it's stupid, right? Like yesterday was yesterday. Let me just tell you, I don't know if I told Ramiro. My Rabbi, Rav Shlomo Hyman, anybody who ever learned Ksubas properly, but you learning more? Ksubas you learned already? Okay, one day you learn Ksubas, and the Yachid learned, and hopefully B'Tzalel learned Ksubas. It's deepest, right? Ksubas is called Little Shas. Everything is in there. So, Daphne and Wolf, it's Sugi that Master Mashkutz B'Torah. It's one of the longest Toises in the Shas. We learned that Toises for 6 weeks. And not chewing over yesterday's. For 6 weeks it began Toises from the beginning. Like you never learned before. Oh, finally, after 6 weeks, you got to turn the page. We are turning the page, and I had the privilege of being very close to him. I walk into his room, and behold, he is learning the Toises again for himself. I say, Rebbe, you learned the Toises now for 6 weeks. Now you're learning it again? He says to me, remember what I'm telling you. If you ever want to be a lamdan, if you ever want to be a scholar, just remember, whatever you knew yesterday is meaningless today. Whatever I knew yesterday is nothing. It's good. But I need so much deeper. I need so much more, So, God should bless us, we should. Kadoshim Lapkom, we should be new every day. Whose singing is this? That's so beautiful.
I'm a counselor.
Yeah, whose singing is it?
You create, I collect.
What's a gewalt singing? Whose singing is this? You don't know?
This is a niggin you end up like how to deal with. Because it always leaves something. What a niggin can't express. It's silent.
Gewalt. Beautiful. It was kedai to sit all evening to hear this singing, you know? Yeah?
I'm very, very jealous. I'm very, very that I think that Shaman wasn't there anymore. He was
Tell me again, I'm sorry. From Schlemmerheim? You were living right next door. I know, yeah.
South 3rd or in Spring Valley?
South 3rd, yeah. He never made it to Spring Valley. He passed away, yeah. You know, if I may say it, no, Reb Shlomo Hyman, you know how much he was into learning? That anything which had nothing to do with learning Torah, he threw out from his head. He didn't even want to occupy space. Do you know that he did not know his own address? A person who remembered Shas backward and forward didn't remember his address. Now listen to me. We heard it from a person. You know, he would always go like, his eyes were half closed, half open. He knew exactly the first thing he goes right, then left, then it's his house. One day he got lost, and he finds himself in another street. He walks up to Yid and he says, "Do you know someone by his name Shlomo Hyman?" He's the biggest chashiv in the world. He says, "Do you know where he lives?" He says, could you please bring me to his house? And the Yid says, sure, I'll be very happy. He takes him to his house, and when the Rebbetzin opened the door, he realized that he is Reb Shlomo Hyman. And he told it to people. You know what the specialty in this, I don't think there was ever a yeshiva. I have to say two things about him. I think I told him, did I tell you last time about the way he was treating the Bochem?
So what did you tell me that?
Okay, I did? No.
So what did you do?
Okay, I don't want to imitate my yesterday. You know, have you ever seen Rosh Shiva when, okay, let's say there are 56, I mean, in Basmandish were a few hundred, but in his Shia were, let's say, 40, 50. What happens if a boy asks a stupid question? What do you do? First of all, you don't waste time, because I have 60 kids sitting there, and why should you waste their time when someone has something stupid? We try to answer it fast as possible, right? Now here's the story. I had the privilege of sitting moments in front of him. And again, I want you to know, Reb Shlomo Hyman, Nebuch, his wife was in labor in Kremetchuk was her name, and the pogrom broke out. And they were killing people left and right. He carried her mamash with his hands on a wagon and a horse, and they drove out in the forest. But they had nothing there. There was nothing there. And Nebuch, the baby, died, and she was injured for a lifetime. She couldn't have children anymore, Nebuch. I want you to know, I have never seen a person giving his wife so much covet. So much covet. But what he did, every year, those 2 or 3 young men who were the best, and that year he would like adopt them. So I had the privilege of the last year of his life, I was adopted by him. I was always in his house. I was like, Rebbe's was my like assistant mother. And, but he was so good. I wanted to share with you this specialty. You know, in Yiddish you would say a Holzkopf. You know what it means, a Holzkopf? His head is like wood. Nothing goes in, nothing goes out. So I was sitting in front of him, and then next to me was sitting Mamish on Holzkopf, Mamish, modeling for wooden head. And you know something, this boy was so sweet inside. And you know, to open your mouth when Reb Shlomo gives a shir takes a lot of courage, right? The boy never opened his mouth, and everybody knew he doesn't know anything. Anyway, he was learning there. His father paid for the yeshiva, was learning. Maybe he doesn't know, maybe he doesn't know now. One day we are learning something, and suddenly I couldn't believe my ears. He's opening his mouth like God opened the mouth of the he opens his mouth, and he asks the most stupid question you can imagine. I mean, you have to be a genius in stupidity to ask such a stupid question. I'm sitting there, you know, I try not to laugh. I look around, everybody's looking down. And I remember, you know, whenever he had to laugh also, but he didn't want people to laugh. So he was making like this, and beginning to eat the hair off his beard, you know, something, not to put the boy to shame. Then he says to me, you know something? Unbelievable question you're asking. And he says, let me explain to them what you're asking. And he fabricated a Gewalt kasha, you know. Obviously it had nothing to do with this boy. Okay. But Mamish, first of all, he was glowing, this boy that gave him so much cover. A few months later, I left for Lakewood. Went to yeshiva. Reb Shlomo Hyman never had cancer, it's never happened to anybody, he passed away. This was, you know what year that was? 44. 40 years later. Maybe 84, 85. I'm sitting on a plane going from Tel Aviv to New York. And someone says to me, do you know that this very, very big Rosh Yeshiva is on the plane? Big Rosh Yeshiva. I want to see him. I get up and say hello to him. It's my Holzkopf. And we start talking to each other. Comes to get to see you. He says, Shlomo, I'll tell you the truth. You know that nothing entered my head. It was just like blocked. You remember when I asked Reb Shlomo the question? And he was so good to me. Treated me with so much kavod. He gave me so much strength that I decided I really want to learn. And he says, you know, now I'm Bukhshem, top Rosh Yeshiva. He is a top Rosh Yeshiva. It's mamish a big lamb. Unbelievable, right? Anyway, we need more yeshivas like this today. The mayor, what's the story? This is it.
Tell you I'm coming back.
You're coming back? Oh, so let's not sing that. Okay, if anybody here wants to ask me the most unbelievable question in the world. Well, last call. Yeah? The chief rabbi of Manchester wants to ask me the deepest English question.
It's not a question, it's not a question.
Yeah.
Sometimes the most stupid questions are the most meditative questions. Just to know the difference.
But you need a lot of heart to do it, you know.
Infinite.
It's even more genius of the heart than genius of the mind, you know. Yeah, dweierlijk, geweld, unbelievable.
What, if anything, do you miss from the world when you so far, from whatever, that world?
Yeah. If I miss that world?
Or anything about it?
You know what I miss? I tell you. Anybody who has never really learned Gemara, Rashi, and Taisus cannot imagine the heavenliness of learning Gemara. The heavenliness, learning Gemara, and then you see the Rambam and the Ravid. The Rambam says so, and the Ravid says in a different way, and suddenly it's like pushing all the buttons in your heart and your head. It's like Gewalt, right? You know what I miss? I just told someone, you know the way I was living in Lakewood? I would go to sleep at 11:45. Try to go to sleep. 2:30, my chavrusa would wake me up. We'd learn till 7. I have to tell you the sad truth. I davened fast because then the learning only began 9:30, so I had a chance to sleep till 9:30. And they would bring me a little breakfast. I would somehow manage to get something. We learned till 2. By 2 I was at the end. I went to sleep till 4. You have off from 2 to 4. I never ate lunch. I never had time because the chavrusa would bring me something to eat. Then 4, I'm learning again till 9:30. 9:30, daven Maariv, you eat, and I'm learning till 11:45. You know what I miss the most? We were up about, let's say, you begin learning 2:30. I'm sorry, what? Yeah. You know how beautiful it is? You open the windows, the birds singing, you are singing a little Gemara, the birds are singing their Gemara, It was so peaceful, so holy. And it was so holy that you cannot imagine you ever want to be without it. It's gewalt, right? Oh, you know something? I don't know if some of you know how beautiful it is mamish to make up a Torah. You learn the Rambam, who says mamish, the opposite of the Gemara, and then you begin learning, suddenly you realize, go out. You know how many nights I spent just writing. I have whole closets full of learning, of Torahs, like. And I really do regret it. My father always told me, why don't you come out with a sefer already, like. But it's so good, the Torah is so good that every Jew can make up a new Torah. Every Jew can mamish, pave his own way in the Gemara. Pave his own way and compare, like Midam and Mitzvah. It's awesome, I always knew it. It's like you come to a point like you can mamish lose your mind over it. I once had the privilege of hearing from Yosheber, Soloveitchik, who was like, he says, and I really knew it before I heard it from him, because when I was in San Francisco, then the kids always tell me, LSD, mamish, blows your mind. I said, let me tell you something. LSD is Gewalt, but it does not compare to the way the Gemara blows my mind. It does not compare. Because, okay, when you take LSD, you have to know exactly, God forbid, if you take 1 zillionth ounce more than you can take, you can injure yourself for a lifetime, So it's very much dangerous. But let's assume you take LSD, but someone knows exactly how much you can take, and you take it. Cleans out your neshama, lifts up your head. Doesn't compare to Gemara Taisus. Doesn't compare to Friday night. I want you to know that the top LSD man, Brother Tim Leary, at one point I was very close to him. We were always talking to each other. One of his Torahs was in the New York Times. He says when he takes LSD and someone puts on Beethoven, he says he starts yelling, Ludwig, get off. He says, but I want you to know, a lot of times when I take LSD, he says, I'm putting on your records. It's good stuff. But anyway, when we were in San Francisco, so a lot of times Friday night, what? That's coming, you are the biggest that's coming. It's Michel, the I want you to know, Brother Tim Leary came Friday night. He says, I want you to know, my whole life I'm looking for something which will turn on people completely without drugs. He says, you know something, I'm not Jewish, he says. I think you Jewish people have something. I see that Shabbos can turn on people completely without drugs. I don't know if some of you remember, and in the year 63, 64, 2 years in a row, Brother Tim Leary would give lectures in the 2nd Avenue Theater. Remember? Thousands of kids. He was a Gewalt. He considered himself a high priest. We were talking a lot of times, I would tell him, Tim, you're a Gewalt. But I said, I wish I could put in your heart how it tastes. That I'm learning, and then I see the Rambam, my mind is just opposite. And suddenly, it blows my mind. Blows my mind 1,000 times. When Reb Shlomo would give a shiur, it was 20 LSDs. But I tell you something else. My second Rebbe was Reb Aaron. Reb Aaron was bigger than Reb Shlomo. Someone spoke to Reb Aaron, not a Jewish person, an outstanding person. He says, just talking to him, right? He says, this man is at least 7 times Einstein. At least 7 times Einstein, It was awesome to talk to him. You know, I learned by him for 6 years. And you would think I was really like one of his closest pupils. So you think I talked to him a lot of times, right? You're mistaken. When I would stand in front of him, my teeth would shatter. Physically, literally. Rabbi Aaron Kotler. Okay, here I'm 17 years old. I learned by Rabbi Shlomo, and Rabbi Shlomo never gewalt, he knew he was very sick. He called up Rabbi Aaron because he didn't want me to get lost, because he knew he was never not coming back, never gewalt. So Rabbi Aaron calls up my father, and he says, I spoke to Rabbi Shlomo, and Rabbi Shlomo wants you to send your son to Lakewood. Okay, I'm going there. My Rebbe said so, and he was ready in the hospital. He had no idea that he is so sick. We just knew he's sick. I'm coming to Rabbi Aaron, and Rabbi Aaron says, you know, when you come to yeshiva, you have to talk and learn. You got to say something, right? So Rabbi Aaron says to me, tell me something, you know, anything, you know. My teeth began to shut like I'm sitting there, and I don't know what to do with myself. Then Mamash, I began traveling. Mamash, you know, I'm talking to the biggest giant in learning. And he didn't want to put me to shame, so first he pretended he didn't see. He was looking at. From time to time he would look at me and say, I'm still shivering like crazy. So he says to me, like, cool it. He says, you don't have to tell me anything. He said, because if Reb Shlomo said, you should come and learn with me, I trust his judgment. Just come. He said, I want you to learn by me, he said. Ich will das von mir lernen, he said. You know the way he was saying shul? Was like 5,000 times Rockefeller Center. You know, it was like one floor, one floor, one floor. And he would talk so fast, if you miss out 1 minute, you can hang yourself. You don't know what it said, you lost it, right? And I have to brag. You know, after a certain while, I was like, really, I was so close to him, you know. I had the privilege, but by God's grace, I was so close to him that I mamish knew his way in learning. And I have this kind of stupidity. When I'm sitting down and I know really what's happening, I fall asleep. So a lot of times doing his I would fall asleep because I knew what he was going to say. I would just for a second fall asleep. So one time I had the privilege just to let you know, I was really on his, tuned to him, on his wavelength. And some rich man came and he asked him, you know, when you give money for the yeshiva, you want to see who are those top students. So I was privileged. Chabam pointed me out to him. The rich man told me later. He says, I saw him sleeping while you were talking. So Chabam says to him, okay, I don't want to break what he said. But anyway.
He said, Shlomo has my head.
I don't know what he said, but whatever he said. I was mamish, yeah, you know, I was so close to him. Like he mamish, he shaped my brains, you know. He absolutely shaped my brains. Only from time to time I had the privilege that he would ask me, so, did you like what I said today? You know, which is really, you know. Einstein asked you, do you like my theory? You know, like. And really, you know, if you ask me about my personal life, I say, here comes the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he says to me, stop learning, go out into the world. I mean, he didn't say stop learning, but leave the yeshiva and go out into the world. And I said, what's going to be with my learning? So like I'm training, you know, to be top and stop learning. He says, forget about yourself. Forget about yourself. I can only tell you, I don't know what happened to me, but the Rebbe Mamash put a new neshama in my heart. Because until the Rebbe told me, go out, I mean, I loved people, but I really didn't care. I mamish didn't care. I was cared only to learn. I had this dream, I have to be the biggest lamb in the world. I was learning day and night. And I said, mamish, when I be the Shem, I'll be on the level, I'll open a yeshiva, and I'll take the best bocher from all yeshivas, and I'll be learning like crazy. Suddenly I walk out, becoming a clown. Not really like a holy clown, you know? Talking to every person. Every person I met suddenly, hey, what's going on, you know?
How old were you?
When I started doing from the Babish, must have been 24, 25 maybe. It was gewalt. I'm sorry, what?
Keep mentioning another story from where is this coming from? Not from the Baruch Hashem, not from the Baruch.
Rabbi Yudel Mama Shia gewalt. Listen, I'll tell you, when we were in Vienna, before we left for America, we met one Yid. His name is Reb Moshe. Everybody called him Moshe like a Shabbos. I don't know if you know this nigga I'm singing, his nigga, yeah? Moshe like a Shabbos. He was always wearing, good Shabbos, 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 good Shabbos. I got to put it on the tape too, on a real good tape. I didn't do it yet. But he was the Breslover Chassid. And he told us that he heard in Lublin that this was the nigga which Reb Nachman davened. The sad truth is that I asked a lot of Breslover Chassidim, they never heard of it. So I don't know, after the whole thing is over, if it's because Nebuch, all the big Breslover Chassidim from Lublin, Nebuch, are not here anymore, you know. Do you know that after the First World War, the headquarters of Breslover Chassidim was not in Breslov anymore because you couldn't go. So they were homeless. So suddenly in 1929, when Ramesh Shapiro made the Lublin Yeshiva, he made the Lublin Yeshiva the headquarters for Breslov. That means on Rosh Hashanah, all the Breslover Chassidim would come to Lublin. So this Reb Moshe said he heard it in Lublin. But on the other hand, maybe it was his own niggin and he didn't want to make himself big. So that's how I got, you know, then we were little, but slowly, you hear Reb Nachman and again Reb Nachman. And
Only when I saw you carrying the book,
yeah.
I even you won't remember that, but I want to give you the welcome to Toronto.
Say it again, what?
I was visiting you welcome to Toronto.
Yeah.
You won't remember that. But I remember you mentioned it again. This time you had a book from Nachman next to you.
Yeah.
I called you out on the street late at night in Jerusalem, also with the book of Nachman.
Yeah.
I never saw you with a different book.
I always schlep a lot from Reb Nachman, yeah. Sometimes others from Ishbitz, Tefer Shlomo. Rabbi Yehuda Mamish, we have to become good friends again. You haven't spoken to me in so long.
How did you get connected to Lubavitch?
You see, we met the older Baruch Rebbe in Vienna when we were little kids. And he told us three things. He said you should sleep with tzitzis, bench from a siddur, and then it says, "Ihr sollt sein chassidische Jiden, ich kann Deutsch English." Become chassidische Jiden, don't be German little kids. So we became already considered ourselves Lubavitch Chassidim. And then, when the Rebbe came to America, 41, and my father was rabbi in Crown Heights, young Israel, so we went to daven Lubavitch. And it was, to be honest with you, it was absolutely torn apart. Because on one hand, I wanted to learn day and night. On the other hand, Reb Aaron was the biggest misnagid on Lubavitch. You know, Reb Aaron Mamish, what?
Probably breath for sleep, or this night for breath.
No, wait, let me tell you. He believed that his snagdis from the Vilna Gaon against Chassidus was only the Alter Rebbe. That was his shette. He says Lubavitch is mamish paganism. That's what he said. He says al pi halacha it's emes avodah zarah. So here I'm learning in Lakewood, in Reb Aaron is my Rebbe I'm learning, but yet in avodas Hashem how to daven, how to celebrate Shabbos. Hey brother, thank you. Call me sometime. So I was absolutely torn apart, you know. My brother was with me in Lakewood and he couldn't stand it. He went back to Lubavitch. And I held out. So I don't know why God puts it. Sometimes it's good on people to live in a conflict all the time, you know. So anyway, so finally I left Lakewood and I went to Lubavitch. I mean, by the present Rebbe. And, you know, it was, sometimes I think only history will know if I did the right thing or not, you know. Imagine I'm coming up to heaven. Sometimes, yeah. Because, you know what it is? You know what bugs me? Because I look around and I see what the yeshivas are dishing up today, right? And without bragging. I know if I would have stayed learning, I would have said so much better. Not better, just so much deeper and so much wider, you know. I tell you something, when I was learning Rabbi Aaron, right? And I was learning to a lot of big Rosh Yeshivas, without mentioning names. I remember I walked into one Rosh Yeshiva, and they were learning about Basra. They just want to tell me something? Okay, I said, we're just learning now this Rambam. Okay, Rab Aaron had 7 ways of saying Pshat in this Rambam. God forbid I don't compare myself to Rab Aaron, but I had already I had a completely different approach to Rambam. 13 ways. It was really... I talked to this Rosh Yeshiva, was supposed to be one of the biggest. After the 3rd way I wanted to tell him, he said to me, you know something? You are a Talmud of Rabbi Aaron, right? I'm not. He says, I don't have the head to listen to others. I can't. I thought to myself, Gewalt, this is what you big Rosh Yeshiva, right? And you know, I knew in my heart that if he is 50,000 feet high, I'm 5 million feet high. It's a different kind of learning. Like you know, like high school teaching and super graduate, right? So something else, right? So sometimes it hurts me, you know. And talking to Bochum, it's deep. It's not. And I think to myself, but yet on the other hand, maybe, like the Baruch says, you may not worship idols, you can become an idol yourself, you know. You know, who knows, I could have become a big avodah zarah myself, you know, worshipping myself, thinking, I God, I'm such a big lamb, God. Can't believe it, right? Possible. Maybe God prevented me. But also, what happened to all the Chelly, you know, would have never met them. See, if I would stay in Lake, would have been so straight, I definitely would not have a heart full. He doesn't keep Shabbos. I would have been in the yeshiva learning day and night, and I would tell my bochum, you have to learn day and night, and when you walk on the street, run fast because the street is evil, just make it fast and come home, right? Maybe it's not what my neshama needs, I don't know. Listen, Mary, you always say the best thing, but you see on the other hand also want to learn so much, you know? We all have complexes. Oh, man. But again, imagine if I would have stayed late, would never been in your car, right? I would have missed Reb Meir, I would have missed Mimi, I would have missed Kiel, I would have missed Manchester. Wow, where would I be? The only thing is, I want you to bless me and I bless you back, that whatever we are dreaming that we could have done, we should still do it. Because God can open gates, the most unbelievable way. And it's clear to me, in the same way that we have today airplanes and missiles, and 100 years ago it didn't have it. The physical, the spiritual, and the divine is the same. Whatever maybe our forefathers needed to learn in 10 years, maybe we can learn in a few hours. On a shaman. What are you going to say, Menach? I'm sorry, what? Because at that time, you see, I was never thinking of getting smicha. I was not into it. I don't need papers. Maybe a chutzpah to say so, but what do I need it for? So one day the Rebbe says to me, when I was still working for him, he says to me, Shlomo, I don't want to talk to you till you get smicha. And I was talking to the Rebbe every day. Means I need smicha in a few days. I go to Rav Moshe Feinstein, and Rav Moshe says, it was Chanukah time. He says, I would be happy to give you smicha, but mamash, believe me, until Chalamoid Pesach, don't have a minute to myself. Rav Moshe would answer tshuvas day and night. It's a miracle he was alive, because maybe he slept an hour a day. Not because he was learning, he was answering tshuvas from the whole world, right? He carried all the psach of all of Israel on his shoulders. So I cannot wait from Chanukah till Pesach to see the Rebbe. So I walked in at that time in Lubavitch. Rashi doesn't live anymore, Pikarski. He was a big lamb, but he really didn't know what's going on in yeshivas. I should look long and happy. He says to me, and here I'm learning Rabbi Aaron already for 6 years. He says to me, I tell you the truth, they only give smicha to someone who has learned at least 3 or 4 Masechtas. Not that I didn't know him, right? I walk into Rabbi Rutner was a genius, shibba genius. He was not a Gorn, he never made it to be a Gorn, but he was an Ilui all his life. Awesome, right? Someone said to me the three biggest Iluyim of last generation: Rabbi Yoshe Soloveitchik, the Bavitcher Rebbe, and Rabbi Rutner. This person, yeah. I mean, Rabbi Aaron was beyond Ilui and God. Rabbi Aaron was like, But anyway, so I walk into Rabbi Rutner, and he was very cute, but he liked very much to tell people what to do. And I'm sitting there and I don't know what to do with myself. I'm putting one foot on the other like this, I put my foot like this, then I sit like this, then I sit like this. I never spoke to him before, I said hello. And to give smicha to a person is heavy stuff. You don't give smicha in the air, right? He says to me, okay, what do you want? I mean, he didn't say it so positive. Tell me what you want. I start stammering. I says, would you maybe give me smicha? He says to me, okay, tell me something. I regained already my self-confidence at that point. I said to him, I should tell you something? I can chew over somebody else's story. How do you know how much I know, right? Maybe I have a good memory. I remember everything somebody else said. So he says, okay, what would you do if you would be I? That's one of his very classic things to always say to someone. Okay, imagine I am you and your eye. What would you do? And he was sitting like Mimi, and there was a big shas. I said to him, if I would be you, I would close my eyes and just take out one Gemara. Put it on the table and let it open by itself. And wherever it opens, I would tell me, or I would tell you, come back in 3 days and tell me some Torah on that page. Yeah, fair. So he says, okay, I'll do this. I don't know if he really closed his eyes or he pretended that he did. He took out the Gemara Chun and it opened on Tamkeike. It's a big sugya. If something is not chazer, but it tastes like chazer. So something is not shrimps, but it tastes like shrimps. That means every little part of the shrimp has been taken out, but it still tastes like it. It's a big sugya in this whole shas. Okay, I'm going to begin learning like crazy. Okay, after 3 days I call him up. He says, I want you to know, my mama had fever, and he had fever, but call me back in 3 days. In the meantime, without breaking, I brewed up like mamash. I was up day and night, I was like learning. I didn't want to get smicha for nothing. I brewed up a long Torah, which was mamash 72 Rambam and Rabbits, Bikar Shitose, mamash. It's gewalt. And coming to Rabbi Hutner, but again, Rabbi Hutner was also not a pupil of Rabbi. I mean, he was a big who was not accustomed to this kind. Okay, I begin telling him the Torahs. After 20 minutes, he says, I know already how much you know, I give you smicha. I say, Rabbi Hutner, it's not fair. I'm up for 6 nights, day and night, and I'm making this whole Torah, and you don't want to hear it? I said, okay, I'll listen to it. I'm sure he didn't, but at least I thought he did. I'm knocking off the whole Torah left and right. Then he says to me, come back in 2 weeks. This was really beautiful. Come back in 2 weeks, and his Rebbetzin opens the door, and he is sitting in his dining room, and there were 2 candles on the table, and a little wine, lekker, and light was dim. It was not specially dim, but candles were very outstanding. He says, he was telling me, I don't remember the words, but smicha is mamish connecting you to Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Because he got smicha from his Rebbe. And Ishbet, there's a lot of talk about smicha. When Yeshua, Moshe Rabbeinu gave Yeshua smicha, was the first smicha. God told him some Achyoda, when the Satim Ahoitcho, Mamish is not to be believed. I could trace it back his names, right? Very good. Moshe to Yeshua, Yeshua to his Canaan, and like Rabbi Hutner got from his Rebbe, for Ramoshe Mordechai, and Ramoshe Mordechai is giving me smich. Rabbi Hutner, right? I want you to know who was Rabbi Hutner's Rebbe. Ramoshe Mordechai finished Shas every 2 months. But not sitting by the Gemara, but the Gemara was learning other things. He knew the Shas by heart, and he was just saying it off like it's a Ashra, right? He finished Abor Chalki Shchanoch every 6 weeks. It was beyond, right? I remember Moshe Mordechai once came to Vienna, and we lived at the outskirts. He came to visit my father. And he was sitting in a chair, and hundreds of people came to see him. And he was so edel, so humble. Yeah? He answered everybody who asked him. But while the person was talking, his lips were moving, right? He was going over Shas fast. It was awesome, I was 5 years old when I saw this, 6. I can't forget it, right? This is a Yid, is a living Torah. It's not like a... can you imagine how often he learned Shas in his lifetime? How often he learned Shulchan Aruch? Beyond, right? So, Rabbi Hutner got smicha from him. You know? And take it or leave it, I got smicha from Rabbi Hutner, right? So I was almost a very holy moment, you know. You know, today some people get smicha by the mail, you know. They ask you a few kashas and you're there, then they send you in by mail. But mamash, you know, mamash gave me smicha, and then he gave me this paper in my hand. And Rabbi Hutner, he was very much in a holy way into COVID. When you talk to him, you don't turn around and walk out. You had to walk around backward. And if you had the chutzpah to walk straight, he would call you back. He'd say, wait a minute. He said, where's the head? But you know, he said it angry but with a smile, you know. He was not by, you know. And then for 1 year I was very close to Rabbi Hutner. Yeah, for 1 year I was very close to him after I got smich. We talked to him all the time. We talk about Lubavitch, about this, about this. You know that my Baba, I think you told the Rameir, my Baba lived in Berlin, my uncle. And she had every Shabbos afternoon, she had 3 guests would eat by her Shabbos lunch. Rabbi Yoshe Ber, Lubavitch Rebbe, Rabbi Hutner. Unbelievable. I want you to know who was leading the conversation. My Baba. My Baba was not a genius. My Baba was a super genius. First of all, she spoke about 5-6 languages. She knew German literature, English, French. She was very frum. She had the big shaitel, but she was mamish awesome. On the cultural level, she was completely, and she was talking to them all the time. And you have to realize, if Rabbi Yosef Ben, Rabbi Hutner, sitting all afternoon talking to her, that she was an interesting woman, you know? Yeah. And, but my Baba, she was very cute. By her, a man talking to a woman, unless they're married, just didn't go. And I always, even as little as I was, I couldn't understand. My Baba is so sophisticated. Really, just a little bit too much, you know. Too much. But anyway. What? No, it was an old lady, that's okay, you know. That was my Baba's yekeshita, you know, she had. I tell you, I couldn't understand my Baba, because she talked to everyone. But when one of her granddaughters would talk to any guest of her for Shabbos, she would blow her mind. But anyway, all her grandchildren were Hashem, excluding me. Mamash Gewalt. I don't know if you remember them from London, you know, all my cousins. I'm sure you know them. Yeah. Oh yeah, Rameir, why did you invite me, Mamash? Thank you so much. Sister Mimi. Okay, Mimi, do you regret already that you invited me, or only tomorrow after you wake up you regret it?
Never.
Did you tell Reb Meir the theme I want to talk about in Elul?
It's celebrating your failures. Tshuva me'ava.
Celebrating my failures, right?
He said failures, but now he said theirs.
Not failures, my mistakes, yeah. Tshuva me'ava means I'm thanking God for every aver, for every mistake, because where would they be without my mistakes? I've never learned anything. Basically, it's based on the whole Torah of Sot Yeshua and Yom Kippur. En odem oimed al divrei Torah edem kein nechshoba. You only learn by mistakes. So I'm sorry, what? She doesn't want to learn from mistakes? What?
She doesn't like it.
She don't like mistakes?
She doesn't like it.
Okay, so then change it. Doesn't have to be. You want to call it how to be happy despite your mistakes?
Just got to be happy.
How to be happy. Ramel, are you inviting me to all your children's weddings? I'm inviting you to all my children's weddings. And all of us should come to everybody's weddings. Who said so? Someone asked me how much you have to wear in your shul in New York. I said anything more than a bathing suit is very highly appreciated. Someone asked me, what do you have to wear when you come to your shul? In my synagogue, I said anything more than a bathing suit. L'chaim, l'chaim. Hey, Yankele Zach, can you drive me home? Thank you, everyone. Good Shabbos. Unless Mashiach comes on Tisha B'Av, we'll have to fast and we'll make Kiddush Lavana.
Amen. Mincha on Tisha B'Av. Mincha is at 7. Is a learning with Rav Shlomo. On Tisha B'Av. Mincha is...
And there's a Torah from the Holy Hashem, which is good to remember.